Okay, so here we go. It is Friday, April 12th, and this is our policy and action or advocacy webinar. So first, like some really great news that we got on Wednesday. So as we are all focused on the state budget, or many of us are focused on the state budget, as you know, in January, the governor released her version and included for the line item for the Mass Cultural Council, $25.5 million. On Wednesday, the House Ways and Means Committee released their proposal, and they've actually included an increase. So it is $25.9 million for the line item for the Mass Cultural Council. This is important to note. This is the largest annual investment in the creative sector in Massachusetts and distributed through our state arts agency, the Mass Cultural Council. What's really exciting is that I think for those of us who have been working and advocating for this budget line for a while, the pattern had been that the House usually either leveled or actually did a decrease, and then it was up to the Senate to make up the difference. And that's just not the case anymore. I had the pleasure of seeing Chair Michaelwitz, who is the chair of Ways and Means, yesterday, and he said, you know, it's a really tough budget year, but we know how important the creative sector is, and I know how important it is in my district. So for those of you who are part of Michaelwitz's district who've reached out to him, there is a direct correlation between how we are educating our decision makers about the value and importance of the creative community and what decisions they make. So thank you for that. This is not the end of the House's progress with the budget. And so for that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelsey.
Thanks, Emily. I was just trying to keep up with the chat. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what to expect in the next couple of weeks and then in the next couple of months. So the House received their budget, to the House Ways and Means budget, on Wednesday, and state representatives have until the end of today to file their own amendments to the budget for their local earmarks and priorities. Once that deadline passes, as many of you know, we have school vacation week next week. So legislators and their staff, and then advocates who are paying close attention to the budget, will spend next week reviewing the amendments that were filed and taking a deeper dive into the rest of the budget so that we can go into the budget debates on the 24th prepared and knowing exactly what is in the budget. Those debates, again, will begin that Wednesday. They start a little bit later in observance of Passover. Yeah, thank you for going back to that slide, Emily. And they will likely go through that Saturday, the 27th. That's information we won't really know until the week of, but the budget could, or they could wrap up the budget that Friday or that Saturday. So we just, for our part at Mass Creative, will send you updates as we receive them, as they come. So please pay attention to your emails, or emails from us rather, that week, about what's happening with the Mass Cultural Council budget, and also just what's happening in general with the House budget. You could advance to the next slide, Emily. Thanks. And then in May, we'll have the Senate budget, and the process for that looks pretty similar. So state senators will have an opportunity to file amendments to the budget once they get the proposal from Senate Ways and Means. There will again be a short review process where we can all look at the amendments that have been filed and the budget in full. And then they will also have a period where they are doing their own debates. That again will look like probably half a week's worth of debates. Similar to the House budget, we will send you updates about what's transpiring during budget week and what's happening with the Mass Cultural Council's line item. So again, I would encourage you to please, when you see an email from us getting closer to the budget debates, really whenever you see an email from us, make sure to open it and give it a quick read and let us know if you have any questions about what's happening throughout this process. After the Senate budget, the House and the Senate will appoint 3 of their members for a conference committee of 6 people in total to negotiate the differences between the House and the Senate versions of the budget. So they'll begin their work once the Senate budget is wrapped up, and they'll continue that into June, propose a report with those compromises back to the House and the Senate, which they will then vote on and send to the governor's desk. And she can either sign it into law as it is presented, or may present vetoes back to the legislature. So it's just a very quick overview of, again, what to expect in the next couple of weeks, but then also what the Senate budget and the conference committee will, or process will look like in the next couple of months. So we can take questions in the chat for the time being, if anyone has any questions about the budget process. And then at the very end of the webinar, if you'd like to raise your hand and ask questions, we can answer your questions in real time.
Thanks, Kelsey. And so just to, again, for those of you who have worked on advocating for the budget in the past, when the budget is either level or it's not at the level that the agency has requested, oftentimes the state art, so Mass Cultural Council will work with a legislator to file an amendment to increase that amount. That is not happening this year because this is the amount that they requested. So that is good news. So you do not need to turn your advocacy to urging your legislator to co-sponsor an amendment. Instead, we have another advocacy ask that Richleen is going to talk about.
Thanks, Emily. Like Emily was saying, this year, well, the budget conversation is still going. We don't necessarily need to ask our legislators to make amendment to any of it, as we are getting exactly what we're asking for. But it is still important to let them know that we are paying attention, and a great way to do that is to reach out and say thank you. Calling your representative, emailing your representative is extremely crucial at this time, because it is the way that the creative sector has been showing up throughout the year that lets them know that it's important to continue to invest in the sector. So right now is the time to continue to do that. Make sure we have scripts on our website. If you need to be walked through how to, have a conversation with legislators, how to send that email out, let us know. We're more than happy to guide you, because we do want them to know that we're thankful that they are allies in this work with us, and that they are doing their best to continue to support the sector despite how tough a budget season that it is. Also, share the news. Most of you guys will have social medias. Continue to uplift the news and share it with your network. If, like Kelsey was saying, if you see an email from Mass Creative, make sure you are reading it. Any social media post that we make, if you can interact with it by reposting it, and even virtually saying thank you to your legislators, their staff are paying attention. So that goes a long way as well. And of course, stay updated, because we're not at the end yet, but we are in a good position so far to be working with these legislators. So just make sure you stay in the loop. If you have questions, continue to reach out to us, and reach out to your legislators. Of course, they want to hear from you as much as they are hearing from us who are advocating on behalf of the sector.
Thanks, Richleen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get us a little higher in the helicopter for a minute and talk about some federal action that's taking place. So there were 2 bills that were recently introduced that are focused on cultural policy in the creative sector nationally. So the first one is the Stage Act. There's no S, I apologize. It's supporting theater and the arts to galvanize the economy. It was introduced by Senator Welch and Senator Fetterman, as well as Senator Reed, and then Rep. Bonamici on the House side. What it would do is it would allocate $1 billion over 5 years that would be administrated through the Department of Commerce's Economic Development Administration. And that money would go to professional nonprofit theaters only. So there's a really fantastic group that has been advocating and organizing around professional nonprofit theaters nationally. And they're the folks who are behind this bill and are working really hard to move it forward. Just in terms of like, what's the status of it? It has been introduced. It has been introduced fairly late in the congressional legislative session. So there's probably not a lot of possibility that it will be passed this session. However, as those of us who have been working on legislation know, it sometimes takes more than one session to move a bill forward. And oftentimes bills can be signaling bills that are about making sure that are trying to push and apply pressure to make sure that there's more money going to a different issue or to an issue in general. So this is kind of exciting. It's really exciting to see more folks across the country organizing and advocating around things that matter to them. And so that is, really interesting to see. I've hopefully in the chat, we've dropped a fact sheet from Senator Welch's office that goes into more detail about the bill. And if you are interested in learning more, please, give us a shout after this and we can connect you to folks who are working on it. All right, the other bill is the Create Art Act. And this was introduced by Rep. Frost, Congressman Frost of Florida. For some of you may know, his claim to fame is he is the first member of Gen Z to be elected into Congress. And it's really nice to see how a member of Gen Z believes and supports arts and culture, right? So this bill would create 4 new federal grant programs. You can see what those 4 would be. It is really focused on individual creative artists, and particularly ones who are really emerging and are sort of just who are not whose income is pretty low. So again, this bill was introduced fairly late in the session. So there's, if you're a betting person, it's probably not likely it's going to get past the session, but that doesn't mean that it isn't impactful and it doesn't matter, and it isn't the planting of seeds for more support federally for the creative sector. And just, we know that so many individual artists and individual creative workers really were, like all of us, were hit hard during the pandemic and are continuing to either like fight their way through or are unfortunately are starting to leave our work in our sector. And so it's important that we think about ways to retain creative workers and practicing artists and make sure that their work is supported. All right, we are going to move along to Rich Lean, who's going to talk about the Creative Advocacy Institute, which you may have heard about through our emails and social media.
This is honestly why I showed up to work today, because I'm really excited to tell you all about this. The Creative Advocacy Institute is something that we are really, really proud to be bringing to the creative sector this year. It is the first of its kind, the inaugural year of it, so we're very excited for it. So I don't know if many of you remember last year we had these 4 training sessions where we were trying to figure out how do we bring resources and education and community to the sector, to figure out how do you speak for yourself, like how do you advocate for yourself, like how do you gain the resources and the little gems that we have here at Mass Creative and turn it into your own things. And we were like, how can we make this even bigger and better for the sector and, be in community with each other in person. So we decided to brainstorm and create the Creative Advocacy Institute, which is a statewide convening presented by us to increase the advocacy learning, cultural policy leadership, and coalition building toward a more inclusive and equitable creative sector for all residents in Massachusetts. The convening will feature insightful conversation and workshop to strengthen cultural community organizing effort and advocacy leadership across the Commonwealth. This institute will occur on Friday, May 17th, so almost a full month from now, which means you have time to get tickets and you have time to invite a friend and invite a friend. So this will go on from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it is going to be held in Lowell, Massachusetts, an area we're very excited to be in with friends, family, and community. So the theme of this year convening is movement building, learning, organizing, and realizing a creative Massachusetts for all. I am very excited to have you all here and hope that everyone who's here with us so far is going to register. So a little bit more about the Creative Advocacy Institute. You might have questions about who should attend. Well, everyone who's here should attend. Like now I know all of your faces and names. I'm hoping you all are there with us on Friday, May 17th. If you are a member of the creative sector, a supporter of the arts, culture, and creativity, or a cultural community organizer, this institute is for you. The cost for to attend the Creative Advocacy Institute is $75. This includes access to breakout sessions, networking opportunities, breakfast, and lunch. However, because you all are here, I want to let you all know we do have discounts. We want to be fair, so we have early bird discounts. So from now until April 17th, and April 17th is 5 full days away, you have the opportunity to get these tickets for a lower price than everybody else. How amazing, yay! So from now until April 17th, please make sure you go on our website, which is linked below, where you can get your ticket, and you will be able to get ticket. We do want to say that there are different ticket prices that we are offering. We have group prices, we have different prices for our members, and we also have prices for students as well. So if you are, also if you can, if you need to talk to us about being able to access this event, please reach out to us as well, as we want to be as we are working to ensure that everyone has the ability to be at this institute without any burden, additional burden. So please make sure you check our website out for the packages that we offer. Again, emerging professionals 25 or younger, the ticket price is $40 for you. So the next slide, please. As I said, until April 17th, you have access to get early bird tickets. How long does it take to register? You might want to ask. Well, it's only about a 5 to 10 minute top, and that's only because if you are getting the group package, you want to make sure you know all the people who's coming with you, because you can't just show up by yourself. You got to show up with a friend. You always got to show up with a friend. So it takes a few seconds to ensure that you put all the information of everybody who's going to be attending. And if you want to know, well, can I get involved with the Creative Advocacy Institute outside of being an attendee? Absolutely. We are looking for volunteers, and we are still open to facilitators. Our official registration have closed. However, if you're interested in volunteering or being a facilitator and just supporting us as we bring this awesome event to the sector, please feel free to reach out to us at info@mass-creative.org. I at the end, I am open to answering any question you may have regarding the Creative Advocacy Institute. As you can tell, we are really, really excited for it. And we're excited for some of the panel discussion we have planned for you all, the workshops, the luncheon, we have all of it. It's going to be really, really great. So we really hope to see you all there on May 17th.
Great, thank you, Richleen. And so the other thing you're going to talk about is Create the Vote.
Yes. So you might all actually be wondering, why would they bring us this awesome event at this time when there are so many awesome things happening in the world? Why would they add another awesome thing to it? Well, because we had something that has been awesome for the past 10, 14, 11 years called the Create the Vote. So since 2013, Mass Creative has had a Create the Vote campaign, engaging voters and candidates for office about the vital roles that art, culture, and creative expression play in building inclusive, connected, and more equitable communities. This year, we are relaunching this program as we are in the midst of a very important election season, federally, but also locally. So locally, we have in 2024, we'll focus on open seats within the state legislators. The new Create the Vote Coalition campaign program will use similar campaign activities modules as before, but place priorities on the development of local coalition who works together after the election and for continuous share advocacy work. So a little bit more about Create the Vote and how it's going to be functioning this year. We just launched our updated website with information. However, there is still a lot of things missing, and I want to give you guys a little bit more context as to why not everything is quite yet on the website. So important things to note. This year, Create the Vote will be led by me and our campaign manager, Jackie Carvey, who is an experienced organizer, who has worked with amazing organizations such as Emerge, and is really excited to take this effort on. This year, we are hoping to mobilize 3 to 4 communities. We will not know which communities until May, because right now we are currently in the process of waiting for anyone who wants to run to be able to get the amount of signatures required to run for office. So far as we are watching and tracking every candidate, we have an idea of where we are going to be having Create the Vote officially this year. However, until those final signatures are submitted and the clerks are return them, we do not know who is in this race and who we are going to be organizing with and around. So because of that, there is that crucial piece of information that is currently missing that I want to provide you all. The other part of it is that how will we be choosing the communities to work with? So for us, as always, we are choosing communities who we are open to working with communities who have legislative seats that have had are in culture focus. If there is a seat that is currently right now there, as we are tracking, we are not seeing a lot of we're not seeing open seats in the city of Boston. So we wouldn't focus on a city like Boston where there isn't an election there are current open seats that are battlegrounds that we need to pay attention to. But for example, if there are open seats in the South Coast, where we know that our community is extremely vital, is extremely alive, and we want legislators in those seats that are going to continue to be art supporters, we will organize around those communities. So unfortunately, communities who does not have open seats and have incumbents running again, we will not be prioritizing them. So that way the open seats communities are the top priorities for us. How can you stay updated? If you have not yet, please follow us on our social media. I know that Mass Creative has a really huge platform that we share everything on, but we also have a Create the Vote platform to ensure that everybody's getting the right information from the right platform. So we are going to be dropping the link for the Create the Vote accounts for you to be able to follow them and stay up to date. And of course, look out for emails as well. Me and Jackie will be sending out updated information to everyone who is a part of our email list, who is following us, so that you guys can have all the information that you need. And I know some of you might also ask, how can I get involved now with Create the Vote? So not only are we launching Create the Vote, we also bring in this new initiative called Let's Get Registered. And this initiative is an effort to ensure that those who are in the creative sector who have not had the opportunity to vote because they are not registered voters have an opportunity to register to vote, but also organize community leaders who wants to shift the amount of non-registered voters or single issue voters who don't often go to the poll. We want to work with them and strategize around how do we get those folks to the polls. So a way you can get involved is that as we launch Let's Get Registered and we launch Create the Vote, we're constantly looking for volunteers and partners in this work. And also, just because we might not do Create the Vote in your community, do not mean that we wouldn't like to see you, if you're an advocate who's passionate about launching it in your individual community, please reach out to us so we can figure out how we can be partners to you as you launch it and get your community engaged. The most important thing for us this election season is to ensure that we have pro art and cultural leaders being elected into office. We know that some of them are, we already paying attention to who some of those leaders could be, but we won't know until the end of until mid-May, when everything is submitted, for us to be able to bring a full creative effort to you all, which is going to be in have open town halls, forums. All of these things are things we're really excited to bring to you all. So as you are thinking about how you can get involved and how you can support, just please make sure as we are promoting these things, you're signing up for it. If you have questions, you send it to us. And Anyway, if you have time to volunteer, you volunteer with us. Like, we're looking for that partnership from the sector as much as we are looking to bring all these resources to you all. I think that is the last part of my presentation.
I think so too. And then finally, before we take questions, all of this work, thank you, Richleen, and Kelsey. So all of this work, the advocacy, the moving things forward, fighting for the policies that make sure that we can have a rich, inclusive, and equitable creative sector in Massachusetts we do that through our Creative Action Network, and it is membership renewal season. I wish we had tote bags like GBH or Public Radio when they go into their membership renewal season, but we do not yet. But if your organization or if you as an individual have not either renewed your membership or joined the Mass Creative Action Network, we encourage you to do that today. It is vital, frankly, not only that we have the resources to be able to continue to lead this work with you all, but when we go into talk with lawmakers and decision makers, we're able to say that we are here on behalf of over 400 cultural organizations and countless individuals who care about this issue. So help us be able to make that case. And in the chat, I'm sure Kelsey just dropped the link to do that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just see if we have questions. Yep. Glad, Maureen, that Kelsey already answered the question. We are already thinking about that. And then Anne asked a question about state budget support for the 2026 anniversary, the 250th. Yes, so there is a fair amount of advocacy work happening, frankly, mostly on the tourist side, the tourism side, for the 250th. There has been, if you look at the governor's economic development bond bill that was filed, she includes money for the 250th in there. But as of now, I don't believe that this year's state budget includes anything about the 250th. But we are tracking that as well. Does anyone have any other questions that they'd like to either ask now or drop in the chat? All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you for your advocacy and for your solidarity with us and coalition building with us. We are super excited about the things that are coming up and the fact that we get to do them with all of you. So have great weekends, stay cozy, and we will see you soon.